We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror as a rule. A beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. The pendulum of the mind alternates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves, but deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. Man needs difficulties. They are necessary for health. Knowledge rests not upon truth alone, but upon error also. If there is anything that we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could better be changed in ourselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. I have treated many hundreds of patients, among those in the second half of life, that is to say, over 35. There has not been one whose problem in the last resort was not that of finding a religious outlook on life. Show me a sane man, and I will cure him for you. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. We should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. The judgment of the intellect is only part of the truth. Masses are always breeding grounds of psychic epidemics. Follow that will and that way, which experience confirms to be your own. It is a fact that cannot be denied. The wickedness of others becomes our own wickedness because it kindles something evil in our own hearts. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Great talents are the most lovely and often the most dangerous fruits on the tree of humanity. They hang upon the most slender twigs that are easily snapped off. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. In all chaos, there is a cosmos in all disorder a secret order. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. The word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. For a young person, it is almost a sin, or at least a danger, to be too preoccupied with himself. But for the aging person, it is a duty and a necessity to devote serious attention to himself. We are born at a given moment in a given place, and, like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and of the season of which we are born. Astrology does not lay claim to anything more. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. There is no such thing as a pure introvert or extrovert. Such a person would be in the lunatic asylum. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Why should I henceforth not love my dreams and not make their riddling images into objects of my daily consideration? There is no birth of consciousness without pain. The man who promises everything is sure to fulfill nothing, and everyone who promises too much is in danger of using evil means in order to carry out his promises, and is already on the road to perdition. All the works of man have their origin in creative fantasy. What right have we then to depreciate imagination? The collective unconscious consists of the sum of the instincts and their correlates, the archetypes. Just as everybody possesses instincts, so he also possesses a stock of archetypal images. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. Shrinking away from death is something unhealthy and abnormal, which robs the second half of life of its purpose. Resistance to the organized mass can be effected only by the man, who is as well organized in his individuality as the mass itself. The Christian missionary may preach the gospel to the poor naked heathen, but the spiritual heathen who populate Europe have as yet heard nothing of Christianity. A scream is always just that, a noise and not music. Understanding does not cure evil, but it is a definite help, inasmuch as one can cope with a comprehensible darkness. Who has fully realized that history is not contained in thick books, but lives in our very blood,